Hello guys, welcome back to Garage Football. Here's our live reaction to the announcement of England's 26-man squad for Euro 2020 in only a couple of weeks. Plenty of choices made by Gareth Southgate today, some controversial, some not. So here's our live reaction to it. So please subscribe to Garage Football if you're new, and let us know your thoughts of Gareth Southgate's squad in the live chat. It'd be great to read those. So I'm joined by John and Mark. Lads, Thanks for joining us. So we'll start with you, John. Your thoughts on the squad that Gareth Southgate selected?
Thanks for having me on, mate. It's a good squad. It's a good squad. It's got some nice depth in there. I'd rather us take literally the cream of the crop rather than just have to fart around like we've normally been doing for the last 10, 15 years of tournaments, bringing somebody in automatic, just because they for whatever the reasons have been before. But no, I think it's a very, very good. It could be better, which I'm sure will come on, but I think it's out of what's available. I think it's one of the best we've seen.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Mark, how about you, mate?
Yeah, as John said, thanks for having me on as well, Bill. I think it looks a good squad. There's maybe a couple of surprise omissions there, but I think overall we look strong, and I think we, potentially go into the tournament as one of the favourites. I think.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that, mate. And I think it shows the calibre of players that are either injured or we've left out. That shows how strong we are, and I think it's a stronger squad than what we had in the World Cup 3 years ago. So I think we've got every chance of going all the way. So let's start off with a couple of the headlines. So Jesse Lingard, as three West Ham fans, I think we're all very disappointed that he didn't get selected. But West Ham loyalties aside, he's probably the biggest name to be left out of Gareth Southgate's squad today. So Mark, we'll start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on Lingard not being selected?
As you say, I think definitely the biggest name out of this. Obviously, Greenwood picked up that injury, so the six that have been dropped, so to speak, definitely the biggest name that has missed out. In all honesty, I'm not actually that surprised that he has been left out. I know that Southgate's obviously a massive fan. I just think that I know Lingard hasn't only really played like regular first team football since like January this year. Obviously missed sort of the best part of 15 months, not getting anything at Man United. But I'm personally of the belief, unless you've got, like what we had a few years back with Wayne Rooney, like a wonder kid who you think who can take the tournament by storm, I do prefer to try and have the bulk of my squad having played together for a few years, which I think, looking through the list of names that he's announced initially, I think that is pretty much who's played for Gareth during this campaign over the last couple of years. Disappointed for him because I think his form probably did warrant it, but I'm not that surprised that he's not been included.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. John, same to you, mate.
Exactly the same as what Mark's just said. It's no surprise in any shape or form. He hasn't played enough regular football to get himself into proper contention. Yes, all right, he got man of the match for one of the World Cup qualifiers recently, but that's Jude Bellingham's got a better potential in him than what Lingard can do now. That's the thing. So I understand the thinking behind it, but I do genuinely think he's a couple of years too old. That's it. He's 28. Everybody in the sidebar, Henderson is younger than him, and Southgate is always trying to bring through the youngest squads he can possibly do that are the best of their caliber. And yeah, I think he's made the right decision. If Lingard was playing with us all season, or playing at Man United for half the season and playing for us for the other half, and had a stalwart campaign, then there's a big argument to include him. But yeah, as we know, he hasn't had enough regular football, so it's the logical choice.
Yeah, I think you want to take players in form, and obviously he's one of the form players in the league over the last few months. And I think just looking at the squad again, and yeah, we'll come on to the four right backs shortly, but I think we've got like 10 defenders, guys, in a 26-man squad. That's quite a lot. I'm sure one of the defenders could easily have been left out in this place. I think, Tyrone Mings, for example, I know he's been in Southgate squads a lot, but I don't think he's really convinced me for England. And I think at Villa he's been okay, but I think Konza has been the better defender out of the two. So if you're going to, I wouldn't have dropped any of the midfielders or attackers instead of Lingard. I think they all deserve their place, but surely I think one of the defenders could have dropped out, in my opinion, anyway.
Yes, that's probably a really good point, actually, on one of the defenders. I have a feeling that the reason that Cody and Mings have both been selected is because Maguire, no one really knows how fit he is, and I think that's possibly the reason that he's taken him. And I might have this wrong, but I think traditionally, if you look at the breakup, like historically of squads, I think normally England do take 9, maybe 10 defenders with them, which I don't understand personally, but as I say, I think that's probably part of the reason why Lingard's missed out is because of an injury further down. And let's be honest, for the first time in 15, 20 years, centre half in particular is probably our weakest area. To choose from. Whereas traditionally, you think back certainly since we've been watching football,
this shirt, there was like, like Sol Campbell, John Terry, Ro Ferdinand, Jamie Carragher, Ledley King, Woodgate.
I mean, it was an embarrassment of riches, really. And it now looks like we've actually gone down the other end of the pitch in that area where we've got an embarrassment of riches. So that's what I think is probably also been another reason for Lingard as well, probably missing out, I think.
No, good points, lad. So one of the other headlines, not left out necessarily, but was injured. That news came out today of Mason Greenwood. He started to hit some really good form for Man United at the back end of the season. But unfortunately he won't be in the Euro squad because he's injured. Man United released a statement earlier today, and it might be due to his injury he picked up a couple months ago. He didn't go to the England under-21 tournament, and he probably, I think AD Bruford probably wished he did because it might still be in a job now. But it'd be interesting. We were saying before we went live, lads, that if Mason Greenwood was fit, do you think he would have made the squad anyway? John, we'll start with you on that one.
Absolutely, 100%. I would have taken Greenwood over Grealish myself. I genuinely would have done. He's the unknown quantity in there. I just don't like him. He's a fan. I'm not getting it wrong. He's a very, very, very good player. I've never disputed his ability. It's just I just don't like how he plays for a lot of the games. He's a lot more subdued for England than he is for Villa. I like him from that point of view, but Grealish and Saka are the two quantities that I'm not 100% sure on. But at the same point, they're there for cover. Grealish might get 1 or 2 games. He might come on as a substitute for a lot of them. We just don't know at the minute. But out of all of the forwards, Mason Greenwood's a very, very good player. And Bill, we talked about it when he came on for one of the England games. I was very impressed with how well he played, and I've been very impressed with how well he's played for Man United this season as well. But it's a shame, but he's 3rd or 4th on the attacking sheet for me if he was fit.
Yeah, fair enough. What about you, Mark?
I agree with some of what JP just said there. I think that Greenwood would have gone. And he's probably helped Southgate out a little bit. Actually, someone getting injured and not having to, be the bearer of bad news. I do disagree about the comments on Grealish. I'd look at him really to probably being in that starting 11 potentially. Looking at there, and it's more, and it's probably just an ignorance thing really on my part because I haven't seen enough of him because I don't watch enough German football. It probably would have been Sancho for me, would have been the one that I might have looked at missing out. But that's more because I haven't personally seen enough of him play.
Fair point.
Or maybe Saka, but I think that Saka, it's more because I'm trying to find if there's another debate there. But I think Saka's probably been taken in that because of his versatility.
Yeah, agreed.
Pretty much anywhere up the left. So just purely and simply on that. But I think obviously we've been talking before about Lingard's like how great form he's been in. And I don't think it would have got to this point with this player I'm about to mention now. But the form of Raheem Sterling over the last, maybe 3-4 months has been quite alarming. And if you look, we're talking about maybe you should be looking to take players in form. Maybe there's an argument there that maybe he could have been one that's looking over his shoulder and being like, is he lucky to be there? I don't think City would have got like that for Southgate, but I think just looking at his form and obviously how well Reece James marshalled him in the Champions League final on Saturday, the odd occasion, again, would have set a few alarm bells ringing for me if I was looking at that from an England perspective.
Because Bill and I were talking about that when we did the Champions League final. And I genuinely think one of the reasons why Reece James was so good was because he's been training with Sterling and figured out how to mark him. Sterling's abilities have always been better for England than they have been for Manchester City for the last 6-7 years. It's weird. I don't get it. I don't understand why it should be the other way around. It really should be the other way around.
Disagree entirely with that, mate.
That's my opinion, and I respect both of yours opinions as well.
No, that's fine. But you look at just quickly on Sterling. Look at his goals for Man City: 18 in 2018, 17 in 2019, 20 in 2020. Okay, he's only got 10 this season, but still, it's a bit of a blip. That's still a decent return. Yeah,
I didn't say he was a bad player. I haven't said at one point he's a bad player. He just seems to be playing better for England than he does for Man City. You look at all the amount of goals that he's missed.
Yeah, but we're talking about the England squad, so
I know that's the whole point. That's the point. That's why because a lot of people are saying he shouldn't have gone because he's had a shit season. So but he plays better for England than he does for Man City, especially for the season. So that's the argument.
Yeah, he's in anyway. So
I do think that this season Sterling's performances for England have been better than what they've been for Man City. I do agree with you, Bill. To be fair, I mean, bloody look at us for West Ham. We had Lingard who got 9 goals, and we're like highly delighted with that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think probably maybe I've been a little bit unfair on Sterling thinking about it. But because when you come out with the amount of, was it 17, 18, 20 goals that he scored over the last couple of seasons, and then suddenly he's only got 10, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, like, why has he dropped? As I say, it's just something I think that his performances have dropped for Man City this year. Maybe it's because of being rotated a little bit, who knows, or trying to play in this false 9 role a little bit, which I think
maybe he's carrying an injury. We don't know about it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, who knows? But as I say, I think that what was it? It was asked about Greenwood. I think that maybe he potentially could have been a candidate if we're looking at sort of like recent form or form this season, maybe. But I don't think it would have been a major problem for Southgate. I think Sterling's probably one of the ones that was a shoe-in for him, I think.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. And I think with Greenwood, if he was fit, I would have liked to have seen him in the squad because I think he'd be like the second best natural finisher behind Harry Kane in the squad. In terms of natural finishing on goal, you look at Rashford, Sterling, and Grealish. They're obviously good players, but in terms of it's been said a lot by Gary Neville and a few others that he's as good as Robin van Persie in front of the goal, and that's very high praise, and you can see it with his left foot and things like that. So, and his record start of the season wasn't great, but towards the end he was getting some good numbers. Mason Greenwood, and obviously he's very good left footed cut in and stuff. So, but obviously it's a null and void debate because he's injured. So, but I would have had him in the team if, well, not necessarily in the team, but in the squad definitely. So before we go into the defenders, we've got a couple of comments from Jack, who's been on Gareth Football before. Thanks, Jack. So, afternoon, lads. The amount of defenders we've picked just shows how Gareth is going to play negative footy, no creativity in midfield at all. Mason and Foden will be the only spark. But cheers, mate. And it's the punters that amaze me. I think that Trent's quality has disappeared overnight. Trent's been the best right back for the last 3 years, not been the best season this year, but still created a lot. Yeah, thanks, mate. We're going to talk about the Trent and the 4 right backs in a minute. And I agree totally with this one. He can play midfield anywhere down the right. Yeah, absolutely. So let's get on to a topic that everyone's been talking about this squad, 4 right backs. I don't think it's quite as simple. I don't think it's quite as simplistic as that. I mean, we were talking before we went live, lads, that the days of playing 4-4-2 and you got for traditional right backs, those days are gone. So, with obviously the advancement of attacking fullbacks, obviously wing backs started to come in to football again last maybe 5 years or so. So, and obviously England played the wing back system a lot at the World Cup 3 years ago. So I don't necessarily, and plus likes of Walker and Reece James have played at right centre back quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Trippier is at times as well. And as Jack rightly says in the live chat, that Alexander-Arnold can play midfield as well, and obviously he's brilliant balls from out wide. So your thoughts, Mark, on them? It's a bit unusual to have 4 right backs in the squad, but what are your thoughts on what Southgate's done with that?
Yeah, well, I think firstly the 4-4-2 worked for Mike Bassett back in the day. So
he got him into that to a fictional semi-final, didn't he? So I mean, what more do you want?
If it's good enough for him, I think it should be good enough for Southgate. But
and Ranieri, good enough for Ranieri. So yeah.
No, on a serious one, I agree really with what you've said. I don't think it's quite as straightforward as it's going to be 4 right backs. And that they're all obviously they are effectively. I think they're going to be competing for 2 places between them. One of them, I think, he's going to go 3 at the back in some games. So I'm assuming because I think Walker's played there the most from memory. I think in some of the qualifiers I can remember, and
that's about right.
He played at the right centre back position. And I think that personally, if that was the way he was going to go with the 3 centre backs, I think I would have Trent as my right wing back. I think that, again, he might not have hit the heights. He might not have been as eye catching for Liverpool this season as what he was, certainly last season and probably the one before that. But I think he's still got he's either second or first for his number of assists this season in the Premier League. I think he's 8. I think. I mean, blimey, if that's a bad season, I mean, for a right back to have 8 assists, I know he's obviously got a bit more quality, and I think that's probably what the problem is that the expectations are so high for him. But if you said to me at the start of the season, he's going to give me 8 assists, I'll be like, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll take that,
I think it probably is 1 too many, if I'm totally honest, looking at it. And I think that maybe we could have got a more attacking midfield player, so potentially a Lingard or a Ward-Prowse instead of one of these 4. But I think as well, it possibly goes back to something that I said earlier, because we're not 100% sure what's going to happen with Maguire. Is that another reason why he's gone with this? Because he's thinking, well, I might need to slot in a Walker, for example, as one of my centre backs, and maybe that's why he's gone the route that he's gone.
Absolutely agree with you, Mark. Completely on that. I mean, me and Bill were talking before you logged in. The majority of these players can play in more than one position, and and Jack's kind of backed that up with that as well. For that matter, you will easily see 2 or 3 of those. Like you're saying, we'll have a flat back 4, we'll have a back 3, we'll have a back 5. We've got players here that can adapt. We've got players that can jump in down the wings as well, for that matter, if needed. I just think this 4 right backs is an overreaction, because at the end of the day, this is a squad going to this tournament. Doesn't necessarily mean we'll be playing with 4 right backs. In any shape or form. But Mark, you're absolutely right. They'll be all vying for the 2 positions that need to be done. But as I said, it's literally just a fact of it's good cover. When the most injured players we get from an England perspective are either the forwards or the defenders. So it makes total sense to play 10. That's right. Put 10 in the play 10. That's an Allardyce fixture. It makes sense to completely take 10 defenders, because at the end of the day, I'd rather us have too many defenders than not enough.
Fair enough, mate.
Thanks,
Tony, for joining. Go on, Mark.
I was just going to say, you can see it now. We're going and they're toying for 2 positions. You can see it now, can't you? We'll end up playing 4 at the back in the first game, and somehow or other, all 4 of the right backs will.
Well, they'll be playing, yeah.
Right, you can just see it now, can't you? And it'll make a mockery of it. But I think one of the things as well that we've all been saying here is, we've been talking about 4 at the back, we've been talking about 3 at the back. If you sort of cast your mind back over the years to England tournaments, one of the things that has been levelled at them, they've been criticised about, they've got no plan B. At least Southgate tried to do that in the last World Cup, and you have got to think of these things because you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Someone could get ill on the morning of a game, or he might be. Walker could be the first choice right back in Southgate's mind. He might play a game and you go, oh, that weren't very good, right? Whoever else in you come, and you can obviously easily change it. But
muscle spasms, hamstring issues as well, for that matter.
Yeah, again, and the flexibility of formations as well, lads, because you've got Southgate's been mixing it up in the last Nations League and the qualifiers that took place a couple of months ago. You might play the wing-back system, might play 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, or might go 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. So I think that's probably, as you guys mentioned earlier about Saka. That's why he's in the squad, because he's very versatile and he's a very good player. Don't forget his quality on the ball and stuff. He's got a lot of assists for someone so young. Ask any Arsenal fan, they absolutely rave about him, and you can see why from what I've seen. Yeah, he's better than Willian and a few other of their more experienced and on paper better players. He's better than them, I'd say. So I think there's plenty of options. It's good to plenty of different formations and things like that. So good to see all bases sort of covered, really. What you laughing at? Tony's.
He's not wrong. He's not Mark. He's not wrong.
Really?
Yeah, he's not that he looks like he's got his head upside down as well, for that matter.
This was through choice, honest.
Let's go to what Jack has put 5 in defence with Rice and Henderson in midfield. Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing about Gareth Southgate. He got it right in the World Cup and the first Nations League, where we finished 3rd. Lost to Holland, but we beat Switzerland in the 3rd place playoff. Jordan Pickford saved the penalty. He got the combinations right, but in the last Nations League, we had like Denmark, I think we had, and a couple other, and Iceland, I think it was as well. He didn't quite get it right. So if he gets the combinations right, and he's obviously got plenty of options, then he's got to get it right. And if he does, we've obviously got very talented players in the attacking areas of the pitch. So we'll see how it goes.
But no one's ever going to get it right the whole time, mate. This is the problem. I mean, like the old cliche goes, is you learn from your mistakes. And Gareth Southgate does. He does. He doesn't make the same mistake twice, especially what we've seen recently. Is going to be my biggest worry is France. If we get through to play France, I think this is where we get. I generally think that's going to be one of the teams he's really going to struggle with his tactics. But in terms of, as I say, I'm obviously jumping ahead here, but it's he's going to have a good headache with these 26, because you try.
It's a nice problem to have, mate. Yeah.
Nice. This is the thing. You try and whittle this 26 down to the 14, 15 you need for a squad. It's going to be much debate, that's for sure.
Yeah, to get an 11 out of this 26 is some effort. And it shows we've got more strength and depth, especially in the attacking areas, than we did in the World Cup.
Exactly.
We've got much more options. So whereas and even in midfield, where against Croatia, where we struggled at times to keep the ball, we look at the midfield options and the technicians in that midfield and attacking area. You look at Bellingham, someone so young, but he's technically amazing. Champions League and Premier League for Chelsea. Calvin Phillips, very underrated. Calvin Phillips, he keeps the ball very well. Obviously Declan Rice, who we know about. Phil Foden, genius. Jack Grealish, Saka we've mentioned, and obviously likes the Harry Kane, Sterling, Sancho, etc. So it's really good. Great options to have, lads. Is there any other names that you wanted to sort of talk about, or you weren't sure of in terms of the squad?
I think it's a bit in terms of the squad, no. But there's a player I want to talk about that was dropped from the provisional, James Ward-Prowse. I was really looking forward to him going. Really looking forward to him going. Little bit disappointed that Watkins didn't get in, but totally understandable. Completely understandable. Likewise with White as well. Ben White from Brighton, very understandable. That again was a player I was looking forward to seeing if he could have made it. I'm just not. So I've got my reservations about Maguire, injury or not. If he's all right within the 2 weeks, I'll be very surprised if we see him in the early rounds. Very, very surprised if we see him in the early rounds. Luke Shaw, I'm not 100% sure on. He's had a fantastic season for Man United. Don't get me wrong, but even that's been bit stop-start from at certain points. But yeah, I've overall taken 2 or 3 players out of it. I think it's a very good squad. Very good squad.
Yeah, agreed, mate. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Ward-Prowse in there. I think, as we know, he's a threat from set pieces, and obviously he can take a penalty, which inevitably to us, we're gonna need him probably from that point of view.
Yep.
And I think I'm a little bit surprised that Watkins hasn't gone, especially as Greenwood was injured. I just think that maybe having someone a little bit different, someone who is prepared to run in behind a little bit more, would have been a good option. But I think the players that he's taken out from the squad, I think he's absolutely spot on with. He's shown a little bit of loyalty to the guys that have been part of this qualification process over the last however long he's been, 3 years, whatever it is. And I think you've got to hand that to Southgate for doing that, not just chucking in a wild card, which we've Theo Walcott in 2006 we've been trying to do that, haven't we, over the years, and then not use him. But I think on paper, I think it looks like just like a strong squad, and I think we've got every chance of doing well.
Yeah, 100%. Just see what Jack has said. Just want to see Foden and Mount be unleashed. Such fantastic talents, regardless of the rivalry aside. If rather us go more attacking, less negative, play on the front foot with a much scarier kid teams. Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Totally agree. As we've said, Southgate needs to get the combinations right in the attacking areas. I think we can, I won't say blow away sides, but should easily rack up the goals. Which we did score a decent amount at the World Cup, but at times, we relied on set pieces a little bit much from free kicks on the corners and stuff. So hopefully, with the attacking players on the show, and we have if the right sort of attitude and mentality, then we'll score more from open play.
And Mark, you've made a good point actually there about Southgate, because at the end of the day, as we all know, he's very much a club mentality. So, like you're saying, him being loyal to the players that have helped him get where he is. It's great from that side of things. And this is very much a squad that you would see play in the Premier League. It genuinely would be if he had that option, because he's going for all options, all bases covered. And I know a lot of people say he's very vanilla, and Jack's made a very good point in the chat earlier about playing negative football. But at the same point, he's the manager's adaptive, and I like to see a club level mentality than playing the big players because they are the big players. That's screwed us over 10 times every single season, every single tournament has screwed us over. So I'd rather we go in with a squad that looks like we could be easily field it out on the domestic league than go out with the All Stars. Yeah,
no, I agree, mate. Cool, well, good stuff, lads. Anything else you want to touch on before we finish up?
What would you say would be a successful tournament for England and for Southgate? Like, is it quarterfinals? Would that be considered to be a success, or semis, or what?
Minimum semis for me. I think we've got a better squad than the World Cup. If you don't at least match what we did in that tournament, then it'll be a failure for me.
Yeah, it's progression is trying to get a little bit further than he did last time, as far as I'm concerned. And even if we take it from a West Ham perspective, if we finish 10th. I want us to see try and aim for 9th next season, and so on and so forth. Just that little bit of push. Granted, it's different for an international level, but yeah, it's semis for me completely.
No, fair enough. Cool. All right. Well, Mark, John, thanks for joining, lads. Really appreciate it. So thanks everyone for watching. Please subscribe to Gareth Football if you're new, and like this video if you enjoyed it. Follow us on the socials, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.